So hi and welcome to today's video. So today I'm going to be doing a review of these three brushes. So I picked these up from a brand called SGCB and they are all essentially wheelbarrow brushes, and that is so hard to say. I've filmed this intro like 3 times trying to pronounce that. But anyway, the reason I sort of purchased them is because I needed some proper brushes, and I know everyone recommends the easy brushes and the wheel woolly brushes, again really hard to say. And they are really recommended and they do look great. However, when I was looking at sort of comparisons, I was thinking, first question people ask is which ones do I need? Everyone was saying you need both, and I completely understand that. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more when I kind of compare these. But when you look at the price of sort of all the brushes of those, they get really, really expensive, and it's like £60 at least for me to be getting sort of full kind of sets of each, and I was just thinking I can't do it, I just can't. Just too expensive. So I went on the hunt for some good brushes and I found these. So I'm not going to be obviously doing a full comparison to the easy or the wheel woolly brushes, I just can't say it. What I will be doing is sort of giving my overall kind of recommendation as to whether, if you are in the market for some good brushes, whether these are going to make the cut. So the kind of video is going to fall into sort of 2 parts essentially. It's going to be first starting off comparing each kind of style, so this kind of more microfiber style and sort of the bristle style. And then the second part is going to be talking about, each brush in particular and the pros and cons in each kind of category of brush. Not comparing them to each other, but just generally sort of ranking how good the brushes are themselves. So I'm going to pop them down, start waving them about. So just while I talk about prices, the bristle style brush at the back, that is called the Wheel Brush XL on the website. That, at the time of filming this video, which is at the end of March, putting this out in a couple of weeks, I'm trying to be organised, that is £14.95. It's on sale at the moment for that price. However, it was reduced from £17.95, so I don't know which it's going to be at the time of actually, uploading this, but anyway, that's what it is right now. The other two come in a pair. As far as I can see, you can't purchase them separately, but they come as a pair, and at the moment they are £24.95, reduced from £29.95. But when I purchased them, they were £20. I purchased them basically just after they got released. I think just after Christmas maybe, or just before, around that time. So yeah, those are the prices. But obviously check the website because I don't know what they're going to be when this video actually goes out. Of course, I'm going to leave a link to that in the description. So what I first, like I said, wanted to compare is the styles of them. Which is going to be more suitable for you. Everyone says you need both, but probably needs a little bit more clarity than me just kind of saying that. So first comparison between the two is safety. So this is going to depend probably on what sort of wheels or kind of finishes you're dealing with. So if you have some polished black alloys, gloss back, I would always be more cautious with those and go for these kind of fluffier sort of plusher style brushes than the bristle ones. But another thing is to consider is that the sort of shape and style really of wheels you've got. So the bristle one at the back, this is going to fit into a lot more alloys than that one. So let's see if I do that. They do compact quite a bit. It's not really particularly helpful demonstration, but anyway, you can see that they do compact quite a lot. So these are going to sort of squeeze into tighter areas. Despite this being an XL brush, as they say, and it is a large brush, I haven't really found alloys that don't fit this brush in particularly well. You can get it in, so I actually think you don't really need to purchase a much smaller version than this, unless you really want to. However, with in particular this, you can see that it doesn't particularly compact. It is quite, it's plush, but at the same time that's obviously going to limit you getting them into your wheelbarrow. So I can't get this into a lot of wheelbarrows that I've tried. So on my car it just about gets in some areas, but in some, obviously around the caliper it's just never going to work. I'm not going to talk about that, but around sort of where the brake disc is shielded, that it just doesn't happen. So that is something to consider. You're going to have to really consider how big your wheels are and whether those will fit. Another thing to consider is how much product they hold and sort of the action of using them. So what I mean by that is that the woolly sort of style, the microfiber style, hold products really, really well. it feels safer to use in terms of the material, but it also just feels safer in terms of you getting more lubrication on the brush essentially. Brake dust itself is really abrasive, so you do want to be using as much lubrication as possible. The nylon sort of bristle style, you can get a decent amount of foam with them, but they don't carry as much product really when you're using them that I've found. You do get quite a lot of spray going everywhere, which isn't a disaster, you know. It's not the end of the world, but it's definitely a bit more of a cleaner process when you're using the sort of microfiber style ones. So now I've kind of compared a little bit of the styles, you know, essentially going to know which probably is a little bit more suitable for you now. You're probably going to need both if you're dealing with different cars. It's just how it is. But if you want to be more cautious, then I would say, you know, you're probably going to want to go from the microfiber style ones. So now I've kind of compared the styles of them. What I wanted to do really was compare the sort of each brush itself within each category, if that makes sense. So if you're looking for the microfiber sort of softer, more safe style, is this going to be one worth looking at, or, you know, bristles on the other side of that? So I first want to talk about the pros of them, and the pros of these, and I think that this is a massive advantage if you are looking at wheel woolies, and that is that they actually bend. So I'll pop the clips in so you can kind of see it, but they do bend completely, and they bend quite a lot to be fair, but when you've bent them, they do stay in position quite well, but they also bend back quite well, if that makes sense. So it doesn't feel sort of flimsy at all. They feel quite sturdy to use, and that bending action doesn't, you know, it doesn't feel like the brush is going to break or anything like that. I've used these for 3 months now, and I've used them every week, so there's been no issues every single time I've bent them back, and, you know, had no issues with that. The next thing is obviously in terms of the actual material itself. It doesn't feel like it's got any less soft as I've been using it. Like I said, I've been using it for 3 months, so the quality of the actual microfiber itself has held up well. I've been looking after them. I've rinsed them out very, very thoroughly with sort of lukewarm water after using them. So yeah, don't leave product kind of sitting there. I can't imagine that going particularly well. But yeah, just if you look after them, they seem to be holding up quite well. I've tried them for 3 months, I've not tried them for ages, but there's no really signs of the microfiber particularly deteriorating at this point. Another advantage I would say of the wheel woolies, and like I said, I can only compare them to an extent to the wheel woolies. I can compare them in terms of specification, but I've not got the wheel woolies, so I can't say, you know, these are better or worse, but I can compare the specs. So the smaller one has quite a large handle. When I've seen the smaller design of the wheel woolly, the handle is a lot shorter than that, so it really impacts your ability to get to the back of the wheels, which is definitely a disadvantage of them, whereas these you can get to the back of the wheels without too much trouble. And then the next sort of advantage of them is that they hold a lot of product. They are quite fluffy, quite plush. The large one in particular is, the smaller one less so, and I'll talk about that in the second of the sort of cons. So I'd say the main kind of con of it, the main disadvantage, is the sizing. Now I should probably stop putting them down, keep needing to get them again. Anyway, so I'd say the main disadvantage is the size. Now this for me is a bit too big. Yeah, the larger the brush, the less effort you have to put in, because, you know, you're covering more area, but this is too big for my alloys. Might be fine for other people's, you know, check your alloys, like I probably should have done. Whereas this one is a bit too small, and it takes blooming ages to get round it with this. So I use a bit of a combination. In the areas that I can use this, I'll use it. In the areas that I can't, I'll use this. But if there was a size between the two, that'd be the one that would work for me. And, you know, I'm saying it's a disadvantage. For other people, these brushes might be the perfect size. So, you know, do your own kind of check the dimensions on the website and see. But for me, I think a third brush wouldn't be particularly useful. I'd say maybe a smaller one of this is what I would need for it to be useful, and then this one, I've not found anywhere that this can't really get into yet. So I don't think that needs to be bigger, I just think this one needs to be smaller, for me at least anyway. Another one is something that other people have commented on, and that is the handle spinning. Now, it does a tiny bit spin. This isn't something I picked up on though. It was something that I saw from Rob, the review warrior. the owner of the Review Warriors, Weekend Warrior Reviews on Instagram, commented on this when he did a quick post on it. So I haven't noticed it when I've been using it. When I saw that post, I went over and started spinning them, could see, and they do spin a little bit. SGCB did comment on that and say that they were going to look into it because it shouldn't be happening. So by the time, if you make an order for these, that might not be happening. I'll speak to them if you're concerned about it. But for me, I didn't notice it to be an issue because as I was using them, I didn't notice it spinning at all. So yeah, something to notice, but whether it's as much of an impact as it could be for me, yeah, like I said, when I was using them, I didn't even realise until someone commented on. But you know, if you are interested, that might be something to consider. The only other thing I would say was a little bit of a disadvantage of this one is that it's not particularly plush because the handle is still quite thick. There isn't as much sort of, you can sort of see me squeezing it. I'll probably pop some clips, maybe overlaying that a little bit better. But yeah, it's still soft, it still feels gentle, but it's just not particularly plush. Now, I think that the handle would have to be a lot thinner, sort of the rod would have to be a lot thinner for that to be useful, and then if the rod itself was going to be a lot thinner, would that have potentially build quality issues? You know, maybe that's why they've not done it, but it's just something that I thought was a little bit sort of a weaker point of them. But overall, I'd say that they were very good. If they fit my alloys, I would be absolutely ecstatic with them, but they're just not quite the right size for me. Then next style we've got is this one. So obviously this was the Wheel Brush XL, as it's called. It is a pretty big brush. I do think the size of it is very good, despite being massive. I don't really have trouble with this fitting alloys like the others do. This actually fits quite a lot of alloys, and you know, it'd have to be a really tight gap for this not to work. Obviously there is wheels out there that are going to be, but for standard sort of designs, you're probably going to find that this is going to fit a lot of them. So I'd say that is an advantage. You can cover quite a big area, but again, not particularly limited by the size. Another thing to mention is it's not bendable like the other two, but it's not really what you'd expect from this sort of style. But it has some flex in it. You can sort of see me doing it here. It has enough so that when you're using them, you don't feel like particularly limited, and you can sort of bend them slightly to get to more difficult to reach areas. But it's not so much flex that you can't scrub it properly. If it was flexing too much, you wouldn't be able to sort of, you know, scrub alloys really with it, the ones that need it at least. So I'd say that the flex, they've got that right. The only con I would say of this brush is it is reasonably itchy. When I do that, it does feel a bit itchy, so using it on particularly delicate finishes, I'd be wary of. Personally, I've got painted alloys, so I wouldn't want to use this on those because it just does feel a bit scratchy. I know other brushes, I can't comment on the easy brush sort of scratchiness, I don't know, or itchiness, because I don't have them. Maybe the softer, I have no idea. If you have tried both, please leave a comment so we know. That is a disadvantage, I would say. For some people that might be an advantage if you're dealing with alloys that haven't been cleaned in the barrel ever, which is a lot of my family. You're going to need something like this, and a softer brush isn't going to do it, so it's up to you whether you consider this as an advantage or disadvantage. For my personal use, for my car, I would class it as a disadvantage, but you know, that's just me. So overall, what do I think? Recommendations. I do think they're good quality, and I think that they are a lot cheaper than the respective Easy or Wee Woolly style. There were some cons to it, as I've discussed, but generally I think if you are in the market and you don't want to spend that money and you think they're going to fit your wheels, well worth a look. I have been impressed by them. There's a few sort of drawbacks of them here and there, but I think generally they do a good job, and they aren't expensive. And even some of the Wheel Woolly and Easy Brush alternatives are more expensive than this. Not tried them, but you know, I think particularly with the microfiber style ones, because they bend, I think that that's a definite advantage. So well worth a look if you're on the fence and you think they're going to fit your wheels. You know, definitely would recommend them, to be honest. I've been impressed with them so far. Now, did it answer all my prayers of having sort of brushes that would fit different types of alloys? In combination, yeah. But having brushes that are safe enough for my alloys but fit everywhere, no. So what I want to really hear now is, have you tried these brushes? If you have, you know, I really want to hear your thoughts on them too. Is there anything I've particularly missed in this video? Please let me know. But recommendation time now. If you know a sort of softer style brush, like this kind of style, not the Bristle style, that has a flat head. Now I've worked out that this is what I need, a flat head design to be able to fit into my sort of past my brake disc, but still be gentle. The only one I've seen is a Microfiber Madness Incredi brush, and it does look great, but it's £40, and the whole blooming point of me buying these was that I wouldn't have to spend, you know, 75 quid on a combination of brushes that would work for me. I don't really want to spend it. If anyone has any recommendations at around £25 mark, ideally, but any at all, to be honest, just let me know. I would be very interested to see them, and I'll add them to the list of stuff to buy. The other two, you know, if I can't find anything within reasonable price, sort of flat head design that's going to work, those two work fine in combination. It just takes a little bit longer than I would like it to, but yeah, it's not a disaster. But yeah, hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, it would be brilliant if you could like the video. If you have any questions about any of the products, or again, like I said, recommendations, then of course drop a comment, that'd be fantastic. And if you aren't subscribed already, then it would be brilliant if you could do that too. But thank you very much again, and I will see you next time.